So do you believe in His name all things are possible? Kind of what I want to talk about today on Gotheology. So this week's portion of the scripture I've focused on is Genesis 6:9 through the end of chapter 11. It's the story of Noah and the Tower of Babel. And I just want to touch on something I found interesting about Noah. We're all pretty familiar with the story, but he did take 7 pairs of clean animals, which to me says, well, there had to be some way of determining clean and unclean animals. I'm not saying that they had the full law. I'm just throwing that out there for you guys to think. Well, they did have to have some way to determine that. Also, when Noah got out of the ark, God said, hey, you can eat any animal. Now, granted that there were more clean animals than unclean animals, for Noah to eat. Because, if he ate the unclean animals, they'd go extinct at this point. But, what did Noah do? He became a farmer. He went back and planted a vineyard, And then he got drunk. But, I say that to say this. You're commanded to eat, what grows from the earth. So, after Noah got out of the ark, what did he do? He planted. He was a farmer. He went back to what he knew. Growing things out of the earth. Just a thought. I kind of wanted to touch on the Tower of Babel because out of this portion, I think a lot of people focus on Noah and the ark, and we're familiar with that story. And yeah, we're kind of familiar with the Tower of Babel. But I want to touch on something, and the way the reading is set up for the program what I'm using is it'll have the Torah portion, but then it'll have for further reading. So in Matthew 24, where it's talking about the end of the days, it says it will be as in the days of Noah. And I'm going to circle back around to Matthew 24, so put that on the back burner, if you will. But you see, the Tower of Babel, it was, the people of the world saying, hey, let's make this ginormous tower. That way we can make our name great. That way we can be famous. That way, we will have something that people will look and remember us for. It wasn't they wanted to make God's name great. It wasn't they wanted to set up a temple or a memorandum or something, to make God's name great, to, remember God, the God that brought them, through the flood. It was, we want to make our name great. And God's comes down, sees what they're doing, and God says, look what they've started to do. If they have this mindset, nothing will be impossible for them. let us, confuse their languages. Now, I'm no expert theologian, but I think these two statements are connected. The statement that man wanted to make his name great, so they work together, and God's like, now nothing will be impossible for them because they are of one mind and one language. I think their focus was wrong. Because if you look throughout Scripture, the people who want to make God's name great, nothing was impossible for them. I mean, you have Moses, calling down, striking the water, striking the rock to get water. You have miracles after miracles after miracles for those who want to make God's name great. The whole Acts 2 where the church spoke in tongues. The other the miracles that the disciples did. I think that God has allowed us to do the impossible to make His name great. And I think so many of us are focused on making our name great. Matthew 24 starts off with this. So, the disciples saying, hey, look at this great temple. Look at all the fancy things. Look at all this. And Jesus said, not a single stone of this temple will be, left unturned. It'll be torn down. And I see so many churches today, the mega churches that, have multiple campuses or have, full stadiums. And I'm like, are we doing that to make His name great or to make our name great? And I think so many churches, just like in Babel, we have confused languages, if you will. Now hear me out on this. And again, this is a dead horse, but I'm going to still use this as an example. We get so divided over non-salvation issues. Like baptism. Does it matter if they get dunked, if they get sprinkled, or do you dunk them once, do you dunk them twice, do you dunk them 3 times, Does any of that really matter? I mean, does it really matter if Noah had dinosaurs on the ark or not? Does it really matter, on the minor issues, on the issues that are not, relevant to salvation? And yet we have so many churches who are so divided on these minor issues. On issues that, could be a difference of language or a difference of wording on how we perceive things. And I think so many churches are out to make their name great. In America, it's like when you find out you go to church, somebody goes to church, it's almost immediately asked, where do you go? What is the name of the church that you follow? Wouldn't it be a much better scenario if you just said, I just follow Christ. I'm out to make his name great. I'm not out to make my denomination great. And I'm not out to make my home church great. I'm out to make his name great. We don't see a lot of that. That's just my opinion. And I could be wrong on that. I'll admit. That's just my opinion and my thought on it. But how often, when somebody's looking for a church, yes, it's easy to say, come to church with me, but your church might not be the right fit for them. Are you willing to accept that? And are you willing to help them find a church that's the right fit in order to make his name great? Like I said, just my thoughts. I could be wrong, I could be off, but that's just what I've been thinking about. Well, I've been reading this week's, scripture portion. Anyway, you guys, y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.